what is that mix between the striker fired and the single action, double action with a polymer frame? This is, I think, the near perfect option.
Welcome back to The Right Gun. If you're new to my channel, please like, subscribe, and share. Help me grow this channel and the community. Well, today I'm going to be talking about the nearly perfect, in my opinion, carry gun. This is the USP 9 Langdon Tactical Edition. I just picked this up and I'm going to talk about this gun. So I say nearly perfect because there are a couple of things that I wish I would have known before I bought this. Nothing about its operation or the craftsmanship or anything like that. Nothing like that, just some little nuances that I wish I would have known. So when I was researching to see if I wanted to buy one of these, and I think from my experience, I've had this for 2 months now, probably put about 600-700 rounds through it so far. Completely happy with it. Zero issues, zero malfunctions. I think Langdon Tactical is worth the hype. But again, just a couple of nuances that I wish I would have known. And when I was doing research on this, yeah, you can find a lot of stuff about the USP family of pistols, but I'm making the video that I wish I would have had before I bought this, just to ease my mind. Again, there's no buyer's remorse here. This is, again, in my opinion, the nearly perfect carry pistol.
All right, so this will be a tabletop review. We are not shooting it in this video. I will have videos that come out that show me running it through its paces at the range. I have taken it to a couple of pistol classes at 88 Tactical in Omaha. I'll give a shout out to those guys. They run some pretty good classes. But we are just going to do an overview. This is basically going to be a love fest on this gun, but again, showing you what I would have wanted to see. This is the video that I wanted to see before I bought this. So as you can see, magazine well is clear, chamber is clear. There is no ammunition anywhere near my filming area. All right, with that out of the way, let's get to this pistol. We're going to talk about a couple of the negatives first. One of the negatives is support for this pistol. You cannot find the 13-round magazines online. Maybe there's just a drought of them right now, but one thing I wish I would have known is that these are very, very hard to come by. You can get the 10-round magazines, the California compliant ones, which I did. So I bought 2 of those. I think they were like 45 bucks. So they're not cheap. That's the first item I wish I would have known, is that potentially aftermarket support for this is, you know, not like the Glocks. I mean, I guess that should be intuitive, that should be known. It's just something that I was not really thinking about, or at least wasn't foremost on my mind. That is the first issue. The second con on this, let's put this in. Holsters for the USP. You can find them. What you have a hard time finding is holsters for the USP with an optic. Now, Incognito Concealment, I'll have to give a shout out to these guys. They had one. They had an option to cut it. I think these guys do a pretty good job. This is a very slim holster, as you can see, full Kydex, metal clips on this. So again, Incognito Concealment, I will drop them in the comments below. They make, I guess, you know, a pretty good holster for this. The retention is good. It seems like it's a little hard going on, but I used this again in a class where I had to draw from waistband. Zero issues drawing or reholstering during the class. Now, Incognito Concealment also makes another pistol well, or excuse me, trigger well holster. I like this very much. As you can see, it obviously cuts down on the Kydex shroud, and you can safely carry this. Again, the retention on this is fantastic. Metal clip. I've carried this. Makes very, very slim line. You will notice because of the magazine release here, you know, the bottom of the holster is flared out pretty good. So not straight across trigger well like a Glock just because of the magazine release, and we'll get into that in a minute. But two very good options for holsters from Incognito Concealment. And actually, when they sent this to me, it was mistakenly sent without the optics cut. Contacted them by email. They came back right away and they're like, holy cow, you're right, it's not cut for this. Send it back immediately. They sent me a form and they turned it right around within a week. So really appreciate those guys doing that. So if you have any business to throw their way, absolutely do that. Incognito Concealment. All right, those are two of the nuanced cons, we'll just say, got those out of the way. The last sort of nuanced con or negative is something that I alluded to earlier. It is the magazine release. Now, I'm not saying it's bad. As you can see, that magazine, and it shoots right out of there. I even have it turned up a little bit, and that magazine still ejects right out of there. So it is an excellent magazine release. It just takes a little bit of training to get used to. If you haven't seen that, it's not a push button. It is actually a lever. And so while dropping a magazine, you can use thumb and index finger. You can use the naughty middle finger there for that. That's normally what I do if I'm shooting, reload, one finger drop, and that is, whoops, in the camera there, that is fairly easy. So again, not a con per se, but a nuanced item that you might want to check out if you're not familiar with H&Ks. So I'll run through those. Again, nuanced cons, again, aftermarket support, specifically the magazines, hard to find. 13 rounds, they do not have a 15 round. You can read on some forums where I believe it's a P2000 magazine you can use, and you get this thing called a jet funnel that you can put on the bottom of there. You can supposedly extend this out to 15 rounds. I don't know if I'd want to do that on a carry gun. That's just me. You're adding some potential points of failure there. I guess if you train with it and run with it and it works flawlessly, that's fine. I'm kind of a plain Jane person. So if it comes like this, then that's what it's going to be. I do realize that when I say plain Jane, this is milled for an optic, not normally, and the trigger is obviously not the stock H&K trigger. So yes, a little bit hypocritical, but Langdon Tactical, I believe, knows what they're doing. So the pistol, let's get into the pistol. Again, nothing but pros in my opinion. So we'll start out, just again, show you magazine well, chamber is clear. So you have the selector switch, fire, and safe. This is the single action, double action. So if you press this down, this has a decocking function, but with the magazine out, you cannot. So I'll put the magazine in and we will decock this thing. There you go. Sometimes it goes very easily. Sometimes it's a little stiff, but there you have it. So again, not the LEM. This is straight single action, double action. So you just saw the decocking function. We'll do that one more time. And we'll drop the magazine. So here it is in single action. Here it is in double action. So it does seem a little, kind of crunchy, if you will. We'll do it one more time. Show you the reset. Carry it with hammer forward on safe if you want. I don't know. I wouldn't do that. I carry it like this, hammer slightly back in the decocked position, which allows you to get a little bit better of a shot off. So this is completely forward. Here's the hammer back. Here it is in its decocked position. So in case you wanted to see that, this is the single action, double action. You've probably heard about the LEMs. Not an LEM. I didn't want to do that. I wanted this single action, double action, and again, could not be happier with the trigger pulls. It really does feel like a striker fired weapon. One thing of note, even though this isn't really that far back and it is a bobbed hammer, when it's in that decock position, if you are careful, you can cock it with your thumb if you want to. So just be aware of that. This trigger out of the box is fantastic, or excuse me, from Langdon that they sent me, and the gunsmithing that they did on it is fantastic. Again, I've talked about how it shoots like a striker fired. I do not like the sponginess of their plastic curved trigger. So this thing is, it's shoots like a dream. Really enjoy it. Again, can't praise it highly enough. The shooting experience between this and the rounded trigger is night and day. Couldn't be more different. This thing, when you have it when you have your hands on it in a good firing grip, not trying to film around a camera or anything, the double action trigger pull is very smooth, again, in my opinion, and that follow-up shot on the single action is almost as consistent as a striker fired gun. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but certain single action, double actions, you can really tell that, hey, this is the big difference between a striker fired gun. I think this is as close to a striker fired pistol that you can get with this trigger job. So very, very pleasant shooting experience. Wouldn't trade it for the world. That first shot, you have to train with it because of the manual of arms. So again, the magazine release, you got the safety and decocker, and then single action, double action. So if you're rolling from a striker fired pistol to something like this, obviously you want to train and be proficient with it. But again, as close, in my opinion, to a striker fired gun as you can get. This is almost exactly the same dimensions as a Glock 19. Now, I'm not sure about the actual barrel length, but if you put a Glock 19 right next to this, the width is the same, the dimensions are roughly the same, the grip length is roughly the same. Trigger well is a bit larger than the Glock, and if you've seen their curved triggers, the curved triggers kind of start here and they come way out here. They do that supposedly for gloved hands. This flat face trigger really gives a lot more real estate in that trigger well there. So there you have it with that. Let's talk about the optics cut. So as you can see, this is milled for an optic. From what I understand, this is Langdon Tactical's proprietary slide. You can get it obviously for the EPS. They have an RMR cut, and they have a couple of other cuts. I believe they might support the Sig Romeo optics. I don't recall off the top of my head. If you go to their website, they will obviously have that information. Zero daylight that you can see behind here, and so when I bought this came already mounted. You can see where the armorers put the Loctite to show that they secured those down. This has not come loose. Here, let me turn this on. Lower third co-witness with the sights. I guess there is one more I don't want to say it's a con, it's more of a gripe. I like to have a dot on the front. They come with blacked out sides. Blacked out rear sides are fine for me, but when I'm presenting, some people don't like a dot on the front sight post because they say you get fixated on that. I like it as kind of a marker to show as I'm drawing. If I don't see, if I don't see the dot right away, I have some visual reference point with which to, there's the dot on my front sight post. Okay, now we have that. So I like a dot on the front sight post. I'm sure people are gonna jump on the comments on this one and be like, oh, you're stupid, you get fixated on it, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, that's just me. I'm getting older. The eyesight isn't what it used to be when I was 20. So there you go, there you have it. This is roughly the same weight as a Glock 19 fully loaded. It is a little bit heavier on the butt end here because of the the hammer and kind of the internals in here. So when you pick it up, and if I was holding a Glock in the other hand, you would feel that there's a little bit of a balance issue up here. Like as I'm holding it, you can feel it want to kind of tip back like that if you're just kind of holding it gingerly. So be aware of that. This thing shoots phenomenally flat. The recoil is very minimal. That's probably a combination of the polymer frame and the heft of the overall gun. But again, I think it's pretty negligible. I don't think it's anything different than what you would get in a Glock, let's say 19, or maybe even a 19X, Glock 45 or Glock 17 if you're carrying that. Now this thing is definitely shorter than the Glock 17. Again, it's Glock 19 sized. So you can see there's not ambidextrous controls or decocking here. So on the right side of the pistol, very flat, very smooth. Left side of the pistol, you have your controls. So Langdon Tactical did gussy it up with their logo here. They sent a couple of stickers and all that stuff in the box. So that was nice, but whatever. I'm not paying for that. I'm paying for the quality, and I believe I got it. One thing that I should note is supposedly this is a proprietary rail, so you can't really mount a standard Picatinny light on there. That is not anything that I'm concerned with. I'm not a flashlight fan on my carry guns. On my nightstand gun, different story. That's just something to be aware of. So, again, completely happy with this purchase. I am making the video that I wanted to make, stuff that I wanted to know, that I thought was important before I purchased this pistol. So I would highly recommend going out and checking out, there's a video series from HK itself where a gentleman talks about this family of pistols. Fascinating, it's about an hour long, so you can nerd out on that, but completely happy with this. Langdon Tactical customer service, I'll give a shout out to them. I've seen them kind of being talked down to on the internet a little bit. I can't say that was my experience. When I filled out the form and asked for, okay, you're purchasing this, send it to an FFL. My FFL was not on their list, so I just picked one that was close. Then I followed up with an email right away with customer service and my order number saying, hey, I just ordered this. My order number is 1234, whatever. Your database did not have my FFL. Here's my FFL current information. Here's a link to find an FFL so they could get the current information. They said, no problem. We will change the shipping address to your FFL. And again, I sent it to 88. That's where I send all my stuff. So again, a shout out to those guys, 88 Tactical in Omaha. Check them out. I don't get paid by them. I don't work for them. I just think they have pretty decent customer service as well. So they changed it. No change fees or anything like that. But again, I did that right away in this process. I think I waited from when I dropped the order. I think I waited approximately 2 weeks. I can check that out, but I'm kind of lazy and I'm not going to. It was not long. It was shockingly fast. So was happy with my time from order to time to receive. I was very happy with that. let's see, what else can I talk about on this gun here? I'll show the single action again, or excuse me, double action. Reset, single action. Breaking this thing down, really pretty easy. There's a big square slot right there. You just line that up, pop it out. It breaks out just like a standard semi-automatic 9mm. Wow, that one was really hard that time. Probably again because I'm, you know, kind of doing it off center. If I was more like this and had a standard grip on it, it would have been easier. But no feeding issues, no ejection issues, no stovepipes, no failures to extract, failures to eject, anything like that. This thing seems to be a tank. That's what it was built on. You know, over-engineered by the Germans. And yeah, just a quality piece of machinery. I am not going to break this thing down again. You can find so many videos on that and how to clean it. It's not me worth it. So I will say that the guide rod and recoil spring, there is a Teflon washer on there. You can kind of hear it. Sometimes you can hear it moving around. That surprised me. They say that dampens the recoil, so when you take it apart, you'll see that on there, or watch another video about it. You know, that's fine. So, in summary, if you're still with me, great gun. Ridiculously happy with the purchase. Magazines, a tad bit hard to find. Holsters, a little bit hard to find, but again, incognito concealment. I think they did me right. Glock 19 sized, definitely a different manual of arms, so you're going to want to train with that. This runs my Hornady critical defense, self-defense ammo, the 115 grains and the higher grain ammo, no problem. You can choose RMR cut. This is obviously EPS, and they have other variants that you can do. I highly recommend that flat face trigger, excuse me, and the Langdon tactical trigger job. I got this specifically because I didn't like having a striker fired pistol pointed at my junk. Don't ask me why, but I've been looking for that. What is that mix between the striker fired and the single action, double action with a polymer frame? This is, I think, the near perfect option. Yes, they've came out with the CZ P09 Nocturne. That's a decent pistol. The grip is a tad bit slimmer, I think, but overall dimensions are about the same. It is definitely a more budget-friendly option. Have a hard time finding holsters for that too, and that'll be another video. Obviously, USP 9 H&K has a longer track record, even though CZ has an absolutely flawless track record with NATO, Czech police, all that stuff. So again, not knocking that, but insofar as the polymer framed single action, double action, you know, I think I'm going to stick to this one. This is a fantastic weapon, a lot of peace of mind, very accurate, soft shooting, good first shot, easy follow-up second shots. Would highly recommend checking them out. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully, if you're on the fence about anything Langdon Tactical, this maybe sets your mind at ease a little bit. Again, we'll take a look at the milling work that they did here, because this is what I wanted to know. Hopefully I helped some people out. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I will apologize. It was long-winded, you know, stream of consciousness as it was going, and hopefully I didn't say too much. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and share.